Get that.
Yes, this is DJ Ski.
I'm Jeff Wilson.
Hey guys, Andy Broom, Vice President CGC Cards.
Hey, this is Jason Howard with Panini.
Yo, I'm Q Harrison.
This is Teapot from Sports Card Investor.
I'm loving the content.
Loving the content here.
The Sports Card Strategy Show.
The Sports Card Strategy Show.
This is the Sports Card Strategy Show with your man, Paul Hickey. What's good? Part of the NoOffseason.com Sports Card Network, the #1 place for advice on how to make money flipping sports cards. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, there is no off-season.
You already know, there is no off-season.
No off-season!
All right, you ready to rock?
Ready to go.
When you get into this game, the reason why you pay someone like Paul Hickey to get your sports card strategy together is because sometimes when you're starting out, you need perspective, you need wisdom, you need insights. And so he's been around the track enough times where he can actually coach you up and guide you. Doesn't mean he's going to take you to the promised land tomorrow, but you now have a coach by your side that can advise and kind of even create these pathways where you can get the education yourself. And that's a lot better than thugging it out on your own. Thugging it out on your own.
The kids better buy my rookie card now, because after this year, the price ain't coming down.
Welcome in, everybody. I'm your host, Paul Hickey. It's time to sit back, listen, learn, and earn with me on the Sports Card Strategy Show. Multiple choice question for you, Lefty McKee.
Here we go. What is it?
Did the intro feel A, the same amount of time, B, 30 seconds shorter, C, roughly 45 seconds shorter, or D, none of the above?
It did feel shorter because when you started the music, I went to the back to pick a blanket off the couch where it didn't look like I hadn't done anything in here, which now I'm realizing my socks are right down here. So now I'm like, dang it. But it felt shorter because I was like, oh crap, I got to get back on the mic, bro. So I'm going to say C, 45 seconds shorter.
Ding, 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 ding. You nailed it, brother. You nailed it. It's a little shorter. Just cut some people out of it and just kind of kept it to where I thought it made sense. So we're constantly tweaking the delivery here to make the Sports Card Strategy Show that much better for all of you. Of course, we're here to help you make money flipping sports cards. Welcome in NoOffseason.com family. We're always super happy to have you with us. Are you tracking your sports card profit and loss sheet properly in 2025? Sports Card School and our inventory tracker help you to do so. So go premium at nooffseason.com. Right now, multiple pricing tiers and a free 30-day trial option. And if you renew that free 30-day trial, it's only 82 cents per day after that for the remainder of the year. It's pretty cheap, if you ask me. What's up to Derek Hagan, Brian Bartunik, Carmel Porter, Terry Anderson. We got a bunch of people over on IG, Dynasty Relics, Professor Axe 7, the HB collection, the HCB collection, Jared Crow, JC2927, and our guy Brian Callahan. Lefty, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm coming in alive and well and ready to talk some sports cards, and I'm excited. I'm worried that our audience isn't here yet after the 3-minute intro is now down to 45 seconds.
Yeah, so everyone feels like they're a little bit thrown off.
And the hour of daylight savings time has just been brutal for me personally. So I'm sure the rest of our audience is that way.
When you lose an hour, it's brutal. I will say that. I strongly prefer to gain an hour.
I do prefer more, though, the actual daylight, though, when we lose the hour. Like at 7 o'clock yesterday, I was just like, oh, sweet. We can still go outside, and it wasn't dark. So I was happy about that, but I wasn't happy about losing an extra hour to grind the eBay auctions, if you will.
Yeah, there you go. Way to tie it back into sports cards. Love that. Got something I want to talk about real quick before we get into today's topics. One of them is, I just got to say, my Michigan State Spartans are the best team in college basketball. They really are. And they get no love. They're still probably ranked outside the top 5. I don't care about the no love part. I know that Izzo and Michigan State are gonna take it to the house this year. We're going all the way to the Final Four. We are going to win the Natty. Flag plant, Michigan State. This is the team. We are deep.
Wow.
We play defense and position ourselves when the shot goes up like no other squad. Flag plant right now. We get the ball out of the hoop off of made baskets, and you don't even know what's hitting you after you make a basket. This team is taking it all the way to the national championship game. If any of you are filling out brackets, you heard it here first. Michigan State all the way. I know it's still a week. We're still basically not filling out brackets until a week from today, but I'm going to the Big Ten tournament. I will be there on Friday. I will be watching Michigan State in the Friday games, and then I'll be watching, I guess, Michigan, rooting against Michigan, as I always do in the Friday evening game. So I'm excited about that.
That's crazy, brother. You got the SEC tournament in your backyard, and you're going to go to the Big Ten tournament?
I'm Big Ten through and through, but I'm going to the SEC tournament on Wednesday. I'm going to go to the SEC tournament on Wednesday, and then we're going to drive up to Indy on Thursday. We're not going to see any games on Thursday. We're just going to see the Friday games and then head back. But Kendall, come on. I went to Michigan State. I was born a Michigan State Spartan in Michigan. My entire family went to Michigan State. I didn't move to Tennessee until I was 25. I mean, I am a Michigan State Spartan. You mean to tell me that I'm going to pay more attention to the SEC than the Big Ten? You're crazy. The SEC has nothing on the Big Ten. Nothing on the Big Ten.
We're just going
to over 10.
I'm just going to mute Paul.
Kendall just mute my mic. Kendall just muted my mic for the first time in the history of the Sports Card Strategy Show. I've never seen that before. The host has muted your mic. I think I need to take away Kendall's host privileges.
Maybe, dude. Dude, I can't believe you saying that Big Ten is better than the SEC
the
this year.
Big Ten gets no love. The SEC is overrated, brother.
Oh my gosh, what a take. Oh, man. Okay, so
have you watched the Big Ten? Has anyone out there who jocks the SEC even watched a Big Ten game this year? That's what I want to know.
I'm trying to. I don't think
there
so.
you go. So you can't say you're uneducated. You're uneducated. Let's move on.
I watched Purdue once. There you go.
Purdue sucks. I hate Purdue. Boudini's Cards and Comics says SEC over Big Ten. Sorry. Drop a comment below at youtube.com/Paul Hickey. I got people riled up. Brandon Meisner in the live chat. Ben T in the house. Ben T says go Ducks. So that's a new Big Ten team. There we go. I'll take it. All right. I think I'm going to see the Ducks. I'm going to see the Ducks on Friday. I think they play. I don't know. No, I'm thinking of you. They got to win, I think, to see them play. They might play Michigan. I think they got to win. No, I think they got to win to play us. I think it's Indiana versus the Ducks to play Michigan State. That's what I'm thinking of. All right. Kendall, I can't continue to talk about the SEC versus the Big Ten because I feel like you're just going to mute me and there's going to be no show. So let's.
I can't believe you said that Michigan State's going to win it all.
They're going to win it all. They're going to win it all.
What I've gotten from this argument, this is an argument. From this argument, what I've gotten is we have to have a no off-season bracket challenge, and I just want to see how abysmal your bracket is at the end when you faded every SEC team.
My brackets always suck, but I will pick the national champion correctly because it will be Michigan State.
That's crazy.
And I will be putting them in my bracket.
I will have this together for next week so we can put it on next week's show.
All right, let's go. Let's go. NoOffseason.com bracket challenge. I assume that we're going to have you and I, Turner, Jake, and Joe in it at the very least, and then we'll be able to talk. Okay, let's do the 5 of us, and then we'll be able to talk some smack on the show throughout March Madness. Why not?
Turner will love this. He'll be so in.
Yeah, Turner's going to be dialed in. Yeah. I know Turner's like gears are going to be turning on. Like, wait, Michigan State. I've never heard of them. Paul thinks they're good. I think I should go research.
I've heard of them because one of the players is a former player of my high school.
You should have heard of them because they've been one of the best college basketball programs in the last 30 years. But I guess no one talks about that outside of the great state of Michigan.
Yeah, there's the reason. Anyway.
And what's the reason? Because everyone just jocks the SEC. All right, let's talk about this. Lefty, in a perfect world. other than Michigan State winning the national championship, you would have a tool that you would be able to go to that would tell you what your card would grade and how much your card is going to be worth in the future. Thus, what should you do with it? And guess what, Lefty? We've created that perfect world at nooffseason.com, baby.
Come on.
Because now we have launched the only tool that exists in the world that does this, the card analyzer and predictor tool. All you have to do is paste a link or upload photos of your card, and boom, bang, boom. Within 2 to 3 business days, you're going to get an analysis that's going to tell you what it's going to grade, what it's likely to grade, and how much it's likely to be worth in the future. And for paid members at nooffseason.com, when you're logged in, you got to be logged in. As a paid member, it's only $1.50. And when you are a non-paid member, you can use it. It's $5.50 per card, everybody. We launched it last week to premium members. We talked about it on the premium pod. We talked about it on social media, and we've already have quite a few submissions. So I'm excited. The tool's working great. People already love it. People love the results they're getting back, and it's one of a kind. I mean, so now we have not one, but 2 completely one-of-a-kind tools at nooffseason.com. The sports card rankings are one of a kind. And then, of course, now the card analyzer and predictor tool. Get pumped about it, Lefty.
I'm already pumped about it. I wanted to send you like 50 of them earlier this week, and I was realizing, you know what? It was a meme for me. I was just going to put you to work, and so I realized that Carmel should get your time before me. So
there you go. Carmel is in the queue. Carmel's going to get her card analysis back probably later today, Carmel, and more details coming your way, Carmel. You know what I'm talking about. And I think Ben T, who was in the live chat, I might be talking to him later today. He's in the one-on-one program at nooffseason.com. Of course, you can't sign up for the one-on-one program at nooffseason.com anymore, but you can join as a premium member and get all of those great benefits. Get unlimited advice from Lefty, McKee, and I to help you build a sports card investment portfolio that increases in value. More on that to come later in the show. Lefty, first real topic of the day, other than me talking smack about, my college basketball team. Let's talk about other college basketball, right? I mean, there, for those of you wondering, like, why is Paul talking about college basketball to open the show? It's because Bowman Chrome University basketball just released, and I believe all the pre-sales on tops.com have sold out. So now you're in a situation where you've got to get it on the secondary market, aka eBay. And I kind of wanted to look at this release from a mega box, hobby box standpoint, look at some pricing, look at who's in the release real quick, and then talk about what the play would be here for people who are interested in this. And I think it's also time to look at maybe some prices of the McDonald's All-American singles, because you've got obviously the big play here would be Cooper Flagg. So Cooper Flagg is in this release. When you get a hobby box, you get 2 autos. Now those could be really, scrub players, so to speak. Or you could get Cooper Flagg. I mean, it's everything from somebody that you would never, might not have even ever get off the bench for their program, to the best player in college basketball who's going to be the number 1 pick overall in the NBA draft. And it looks like you can get, you could probably get a hobby box for around $250, $260. There's some auctions, but there's some buy it nows around $250, $260. There's some closer to $300. Lefty, I mean, have you looked into this at all? What's your initial take on this Bowman U Chrome basketball with Cooper Flagg? Of course, Juju Watkins is in here. It's not her first.
Yeah.
So I mean, really, it's Cooper Flagg is the main draw here.
Yeah, I definitely think the Bowman U Chrome is a cool release, especially this time because there's so many cool different players in there. I'm excited about a couple of guys around the Cooper Flagg lore. You got Knepel in this as well. Sion James is also in here, who transferred over from, I believe, Tulane to play for his fifth year at Duke, which not that he's going to be anything in the NBA likely, but he's going to have some pulls from Duke as well. And then you also have, I'm going to butcher his name, but Kaman Malukah. And it's the center that Duke has that played for South Sudan in the FIBA tournament. And really, that's where he came on notice. And I believe that he's going to be a top 10 draft pick as well. He's predicted to go in the lottery. So this guy has been playing basketball for like 30 minutes, and he's all of a sudden going to go in the lottery. I think the center for Duke, which I've butchered his name at this point, but come on, could be a cool card to get in this release as well. But Cooper Flagg, obviously would be the most investable piece in here. I also know that Ace Bailey has cards in this release as well, and probably going to go number 2 overall. And I just get the feeling that some of those two guys specifically, their college uniform will be valuable still, because they're going to go to teams where their cards are, they're probably going to be on the national or the Wizards and not the Nationals. Hopefully he doesn't switch sports. The Wizards and the Hornets. So not great franchises in terms of publicity either. So I still think in that respect, their valuable pieces could be still in their college uniforms, especially Cooper. And
Unless something weird happens in the NBA draft lottery, which actually kind of happens every year. But yeah, I think you gotta look at the odds and play the odds, which you did there. So that's fair. I think there are 2 names missing from this checklist that I think I would be way more interested in buying into this release if they were in it. And one of them is Jace Richardson, Jase Richardson. He is projected to be a lottery pick. And Kendall, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of the school that he goes to, but it's Michigan State University.
I figured this was coming.
There's also a player named Cohen Carr. Look him up, Cohen Carr. Not sure if you're familiar with the school that he goes to, but it's called Michigan State University.
Lord.
There is absolutely no love for Michigan State University. And I am not even joking. When those two players have Bowman Chrome U firsts, they will be valuable. They will be worth buying into, and they will go up in value because they are extremely underrated, electric players that will have NBA futures. And I don't disagree with you. I actually think that the Cooper Flagg's Bowman Chrome University, his bigger cards, like his serial numbered cards, his autos, I could see them go up in value. Of course, I'm going to caution everybody against buying the wax. But do not buy into the breaks. If anything, I would say just wait until the market settles and then buy the singles. It's kind of like, I know I'm kind of a broken record there, but I still think even at like $250 a hobby box, I don't think you have great odds to get Cooper Flagg. I really don't know if Cooper Flagg's base card PSA 10s are really going to do what base PSA 10s have done in the past. I do think his autos, his low serial numbered, the ones that you're going to have to pay a lot to get into are going to do really well. But I would rather see people save up and buy those singles over the next few months than try and roll the dice and win them in a break or rip them out of wax. I do think that having said that, I do think one of the biggest selling markers for Cooper Flagg coming up is going to be the NBA draft lottery. Because I think then that's when you're going to find out where Cooper Flagg is going to go. And there's going to be a lot of media attention around this upcoming NBA draft lottery in a couple of months. And it was historically ended up being one of the biggest selling markers for Wemby cards. Now, Wemby only had the SI for Kids card out. Cooper Flagg has the Topps Chrome McDonald's All-American card out. So Lefty, switching gears a little bit, segueing into those cards. I'm not saying that I don't think you can necessarily buy a single of a Bowman U Chrome Cooper Flagg and have it go up by the NBA draft lottery. Maybe, but I'd rather buy in a little bit later on the Bowman U Chrome after the prices come down a little bit maybe buy into those actually post NBA draft and then maybe sell those during the summer league. But is there a play where you would go McDonald's All-American auto, Cooper Flagg now, and then sell at the NBA draft lottery?
I think I'd rather have the cards that we currently own. I think I would rather have the Topps U or the Topps Now 1. Now, okay, the Bowman U or the McDonald's All-American autograph is a whole different discussion, because you could buy 1,000 of the Topps Now cards for one of the potential autographs in terms of the money that you're going to invest. But I think if you're just saying which one would you rather invest in and have, I think I'd still rather have the Duke cards of him flying through the air rather than the McDonald's All-American card, because maybe this is just my personal take in terms of like, I have lost a lot of money on the McDonald's All-American cards previously, but I think the McDonald's logo specifically doesn't do investing well, because it's seen as like a Dollar General like logo. I think McDonald's has seen as a cheap fast food place to eat, right, in their brand. And then you think of like, if McDonald's wasn't sponsoring the game, I think this would be fine. But the McDonald's All-American cards, it's just a strange thing to invest in. It's not only like, we talk all the time about how Bowman First Chrome autos are good, but they're a subset of a subset, right? Like, it's subset of baseball and it's a subset of, minor leaguers, and it's a, like stare down. I think McDonald's All-American could have that same argument where it's like a step down. And there is a market for it, but it's just more rare than the other stuff. Does that make sense? Am I making any sense?
I think so. I mean, it's an interesting take. Like, I think that you're probably more right than you are wrong on this. And the reason I say that is because, like, my counterpoint would be McDonald's All-American game actually has been, like, it's been the name of the game forever, ever since I believe the game has existed. So like, when I was a little kid, the McDonald's All-American game was a big deal. I don't know if it's as big of a deal anymore, but it still holds with it like the legitimacy of the game. Like, when you're a McDonald's All-American, like, you don't say you're an All-American high school player, you say you're a McDonald's All-American, and then people know what you're talking about. Now, does that really hold the same legitimacy anymore? Probably not, because I think there's different rankings. There's like, this is a 4-star prospect, this is a 5-star prospect. You've got all these different other media outlets that rank players, so it's a little bit more watered down. So I definitely see your point. And then, like, maybe with the newer generation of flippers and collectors, you're probably right. The newer generation probably looks at that and goes, oh, gross, McDonald's logo. So I think you're probably onto something. I also think my other counterpoint would be, you do have Topps and Topps Chrome, which does raise it up a little bit. Like, if this were McDonald's All-American, I don't know, like, if Leaf had the licensing to it or something, it'd probably be a little gross. To me, the Topps Chrome with the McDonald's All-American is legit. However, I do think the biggest factor is that what comes after it, right? So we already know that Cooper Flagg already has autos in the Bowman U Chrome, which supersedes the McDonald's All-American. And I would say for that reason, I posed the question, like, is there a play here? But I would say for that reason, I would agree with you. There's probably not a play here, because now you've got a situation where it's already been superseded. There's only going to be more and more Cooper Flagg autos to come. There's going to be draft day autos that are going to be Topps Now. We know that, right? So, I mean, I say fade Bowman U Chrome, ripping wax and buying into breaks. Lefty says fade McDonald's Topps Chrome singles, right? So we're basically saying, just err on the side of caution, fade. I would say next question would be, should you fade? Now, this is switching gears to the pros, but because of a weak 2024-2025 NBA rookie class, sandwiched in between Wemby and Cooper, should you fade all 2024-2025 NBA basketball releases, including Prism, which just came out, and Donruss, which comes out this week?
That, I mean, you could make a really, really strong point about just saying like, this is a release that I'm going to either miss completely or I'm going to wait to see which of the guys that are further down the list rise up in popularity. I remember when we went through, I think it was 2020 Bowman Chrome. 2020 was horrific from a checklist standpoint. I mean, like now we look back on it, and the 3 guys that were chases, none of them have been in, or one of them has been in the majors, and he's been as a utility player. So it's like, dang, what a miss, in terms of the checklist. And there's going to be some releases that are just not as good as other releases, but I would rather spend my money not on Sar and any of the other guys or the Thompson boys or, any of those. I'd rather go Wemby or save my money for Cooper. I just am not excited about any of those guys, with 1 or 2 maybe minor exceptions because of where I live. I live in an area where Dillingham and Reed Shepherd are pretty marketable. So I could see myself potentially getting in on Reed Shepherd. Probably not, but like I could see myself buying a Dillingham auto just or if it was in the right, if nobody else wanted it. And I was like, I can go sell that at my local card shop. But that's just finding a reason for a buyer market that's right next to you. So I'm a fade on all of their cards in that rookie class.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I do think that like this could end up being a class that 2-3 years from now is an amazing class to go back in and buy singles from. Like you just never know.
Yeah.
But in terms of like buying the wax or buying into the singles now, I think it's a recipe for disaster. Quick correction just for the audience. You said Thompson twins. They were actually in Wemby's class. This would be like the Stephon Castle Dillingham. So, but yeah, like this is just a weaker class. It's just, there's nobody that, it's not that there's not good players in it. I mean, Buzelis, I think, is surprising some people. So this could end up being a class that 2-3 years from now, we come back and we go, oh, wow, this class had Buzelis. It had Castle. It had, maybe Shepard's playing better. Like, it could be a class where there's some value in the future after. But for this to be $600 a box,
no, thank you.
And then, I mean, that's still like, I think it's just still now we had, I hate to even say this, but I will give some props to the Card Society. The reason I don't like saying stuff like this is because I don't want people to get it twisted. This will not happen again. The Card Society opened a box and got the Stephon Castle Superfractor auto. That literally will not happen again because there's only one of those. Unless you're pulling a card like that. I don't know. I think you're getting slaughtered on this release.
Do you think there's any value in Dalton Connect?
I think it's like, again, I think he's an example of where there could be value in the future if you're buying in during in sports card school, we go over in depth of like how to time the market, right? Where you're looking at a particular player who has shown flashes, but the hype has come down, and maybe during the off season, there's a few, maybe he hits a few like sleeper fantasy basketball lists for the upcoming year, but his prices are still low, and you're like, okay, Dalton Connect, like he's shown flashes and we know what he's capable of doing. Maybe there's a future good time to buy into him. So I wouldn't rule that out. I think like he's a name that I didn't mention that you just mentioned that I would agree. I would say like he could be one.
This class will,
this
though.
class just doesn't really have it right now.
It will be a really fun like YouTube video in like 4 or 5 years of saying, let's redraft this class, because there's guys that are deep in this class that will move up that list. I mean, I would say Castle right now for me would be the number one pick,
Yeah.
And he was already, what was it? Number 4. So, I mean, you've already seen some movement with some of those guys. Buzelis was number 11, or Buzelis or however you say it. So, yeah, I think that will be an interesting thing, but you don't really determine sports card value off of a redraft YouTube video. So yeah, I think I just am fading it in general.
I'm fading it too. Donruss is coming out. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because Prism just came out. Donruss is coming out. I think it's just like putting a stamp on this as a clear fade. And before we get into the next topic real quick, let's acknowledge a few more things in the live chat. So first of all, Hector says Max Christie long-term ? Hector, thank you for throwing out a Michigan State Spartan. I will give you points for that. Max was a one and done at Michigan State. He was a second round pick of the Lakers, traded to Dallas in the Luka trade with AD. Once upon a time, I saw it for Max Christie when he was still a Laker. I just don't know, like, once you've been traded, now he's in Dallas. I don't know. I mean, possibly, but you would have to get a Max Christie low serial numbered desirable card in a dollar box to make money off of it. Like, Max Christie isn't necessarily going to be a guy where you're like, I'm going to go get his patch auto out of Immaculate Panini sealed on eBay, because those are going to be marked up and everything. People trying to get as much as they can. We've got the Card Society saying McCain was playing well before he got injured for Philly. So, I mean, there is a possibility that, again, 3-4 years from now, this draft class is kind of fun to look at and buy into. Another thing I wanted to just shout out, our guy Tom DiCaprio. Let's give Tom all of our thoughts and prayers. Tom is a premium member of NoOffseason.com, and he's been going through some health struggles recently. Tom, we send you the best. We're glad that you are. It sounds like you're out of the hospital, but you were in and out of the hospital over the weekend, and we're sending you our best. If there's any of you in the NoOffseason.com fam that are struggling with anything health related, our thoughts and prayers are with you, and we really care most that you're healthy, but secondly that you're making money. So Tom, all the best, my man. Lefty, one thing that came up in our text string with Turner last week was this PSA tariff, how the tariff regulations are affecting PSA specifically. Mm-hmm. And it won't just be PSA. Obviously, it would also be our friends at CGC Cards. It would also be the other grading companies. But I mean, I looked into it after you sent it. We talked about it a little bit on the premium pod last week. For those of you who are not premium members or who have not checked out the premium pod from last week, it's definitely worth it. I would say it's still a big sort of I don't know on this, but it does seem like PSA, I mean, according to what PSA published last week, there are still the ability for people in Canada, at least, to submit through to mail to a submission center in Halifax, Nova Scotia. They're working on how customers in China and Hong Kong can create and send submissions. I don't see an update about Mexico. Mexico's listed in the PSA will be temporarily pausing the acceptance of direct PSA grading submissions sentence. So I think everybody's still trying to figure it out, but what I do know, Lefty, is that if you're confused at all by grading your cards with PSA, you can grade with us at nooffseason.com. Send us your cards. We do the hard part and save you money. We also track your gem rate for you. So what this means, for those of you, if you're outside of the US and you don't want to even have to worry at all about the tariffs, what you can do is you can just drop ship your cards to nooffseason.com from eBay or whatever marketplace you're buying them from. Just go submit the grading form at nooffseason.com. It'll give you the address that you can drop ship your cards to. A lot of great people that are in the live chat right now already do that. I know Jaime Corona does that.
I love that name.
Yeah, it is a good name, right? Jaime Corona. Jaime is one of our very, very loyal premium members and a one-on-one member, and he also grades with us. So Jaime lives in the United States, but there's a lot of people outside of the United States that would also drop ship their cards to us. You can do it if you just want to get around this tariff thing. Carmel Porter is sending cards our way. We love you, Carmel. Hopefully you got a date night planned for this weekend to rip some sports cards, or this week.
She got some bangers last time.
For sure. Okay. Lefty, I'm going to tee you up for the $1 million question. In the last segment, we talked about fading. Well, with that money that you're saving from fading, all the things that we've talked about fading so far, what are you buying?
Yeah, I think that is a really it's a tough question right now, because as I sit here, we've been talking about like going where they ain't, you know, like we'll even have a discussion even further about going where they ain't later in today. But I think this is the time of year, Paul, where typically I have tried to get too cute. Like I've tried to be like, oh yeah, let's, you know, they're not here. The reason being because like NBA is going, NFL is right in the free agency period, so it's in the news. So like cards are in the news, and so they're like, it's not really a time to buy necessarily for football. But baseball is in spring training, you know. So 3 main sports gone. Soccer is moving into the end of season in Europe, so they're like pretty much expected to be where they're at. They're not necessarily a good selling marker. And then the MLS has just started, so like that's another big thing. But you know, and so it's just a bad time, I think, to be buying cards in general. I would rather be buying cards 4 months ago than right now, you know, like in December rather than March. But with that being said, my main auction, or one of the auctions that I'm wanting to premiere today, if you want to click the link and throw it up here, is this guy has been destroying baseballs. When we went into spring training, Jack Caglione looked like a guy that was going to be potentially investable. He went from looking like a guy to potentially be investable to probably hitting 25 home runs this year. This guy has destroyed in spring training. So you're thinking, Kendall, we're going to buy while he's destroying. I am willing to assume that not that many people are listening to spring training bat cracks like I am. Have you watched any spring training this year, Paul?
No, I've only been watching Michigan State Spartans basketball.
Exactly. I think there's a small window over the next couple of maybe a week, maybe 2, where we could potentially still get into Jack Caglione, and by the way, Travis Bazzana, which I have been buying him this week as well. Jack might make the major league straight out of spring training and force not only a roster spot but a starting role, which is crazy. That's not really what people expected. People expected Kansas City to maybe have him up in like later this year, maybe in August, and he's definitely forcing their hand. He's been an interesting guy that, you know, when you're watching a sport and every now and then you just like you hear something or you watch something and you're just like, that's different. When Jack hits the ball, Paul, you're like, that sounded like a home run. He didn't miss that, you know, and then the camera pans over after you hear that and it's gone, you know, 900 feet into the freaking next county. So I think this auction specifically is interesting. One, because it's still under $100, and for a raw auto, that's pretty good. Now there are some print lines and things on this, but you're also getting 2 refractor first as well with it. I think it's interesting. I think auctions like this I like, because I feel like they don't fly up search engines as well as just a regular Bowman Chrome auto, and it comes with 2 other cards. So I'd be willing to win this auction, and I probably will bid on it.
I like this discussion for a lot of reasons. Lefty bringing up Jack Caglione during a time when, even though there's hype around baseball, it is March Madness. I mean, it's not technically March Madness yet. That'll be next week, but it is like everyone is probably paying more attention to college basketball than anything else. And while it may not be prime buying season yet, I think typically that's like June for me. It's like June and December, and we already missed December. Like December's long gone. So coming up on June, but like in the meantime, what can you buy? I like Jack Caglione. I think to me, he's like the prospect from this year's class. From like that would, if any of them would transcend baseball, it would be him, just simply because of the ability to pitch and hit. And he may not pitch, but like just because his card does say first base pitcher, and he pitched in college, and I just think, and he's a top 10 pick. So to me, he checks the boxes. The other thing I like about the auction you picked is that we typically don't pick auctions, A, that have 3 cards in them, and B, where the item description from the seller actually says the base auto has some front surface marks, see pics. All cards are considered near mint, but all 3 have minor imperfections. A lot of auctions don't even disclose this, so you're left to really look at the card yourself or use our card analyzer and predictor tool at nooffseason.com. So I think when you get an auction like this, Lefty, are you thinking you're thinking flip it raw, right? If you were to win this auction?
I am. I would want to see it in person first off. But I also am looking at the pictures and I don't see as many flaws as they are necessarily saying. I have seen some of these flaws come out undetectable, in a PSA 10 slab. Not especially the second one. That's a very, very small horizontal print line. So I would just want to see it in person and assess it, and then I potentially just sell it raw in a single only auction, where that's the only thing in the picture. I think sometimes lots have less draw actually than just the straight up that's exactly what I want card, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. So there's a few cards that I was going to throw out on today's show. I'm still going to throw them out, and there's an auction in particular that I want to talk about real quick that I think would be interesting for people to go out and bid on. And it relates to a win that I've had recently. I do think so. So Victor Wembanyama's 2023 Topps Chrome Refractor PSA 10 would be interesting to buy in as a graded to graded play right now. Also, his 2023 Prism Red Ice PSA 10 is interesting. They're down a little bit, and I think there's room to have them move back up when he does come back. Anthony Edwards also has a couple cards that are down a little bit. They're definitely expensive to get into. His 2020 Crown Royale Kaboom Raw, I would grade that if you can find a gradable copy. And his 2020 Prism Ruby Red Prism Ruby Wave PSA 10 would be a graded to graded play. But the other raw to grade play that I made that I would encourage people to take a look at is Wemby's 2023-24 Topps Chrome Rookie Auto. So it's the base rookie auto. There's an auction right now from our friend over in China, Murazond. Lefty and I have each bought cards from Murazond Collection. I've had good fortune buying from them. This one in particular looks pretty gemmable to me. If there's anything slightly wrong, it would be maybe a little off center, top to bottom. So that could be a thing, but it does look good right to left. And the win that I had with this was I bought this exact, not this copy of this card, but this exact card. All in, I paid $1,100, including the grading fee, and I got a 10. So that's actually in this box right here on my desk. The 10 is with me in person, and that has been selling in auctions, the 10 of this card, which is why it's a great raw to grade play for me right now that I'm telling all of you about, not only because I got a win with the 10, but because it's been selling either $1,800 in auctions consistently, or there was one sale over the last couple of weeks in a buy it now that was actually over $3,000. So there's a massive discrepancy. It's the same card, but a massive discrepancy in what they sell for. And to me, this is a classic example of, like, there's no way that I would auction this card right now. This is not a selling marker for Wemby. The only way that I would auction this card right now is if I desperately needed the money, right? Which I wouldn't fault people for. You're up, right? Like you're up probably $600 after fees, and you could cash in and get $600 free money because you made a great play. But is it the time to auction off a Wemby card? No, I would rather be buying the Wemby card than selling the Wemby card. And so I think the person who had it listed in a buy it now and got somebody to just buy it for $3,100 in a buy it now that's actually a phenomenal play. Probably unlikely, but now there's a comp for that. So now that there's a comp for that, now all of a sudden you can make the play and you can try the buy it now and see what happens. So I do like the raw to grade Wemby rookie autos Topps Chrome. I also like him because I think you can tell a lot on the centering on that particular card. So it's just as great to tell what to fade as it is to tell what to buy. Right, Lefty?
What did you say that these are relatively going for right now, raw?
In auctions, or raw, around 1,000. In PSA 10, in auctions 1,800 consistently. So there is a raw to grade immediate play if you did need the money. You're going to probably net around $600 after fees, maybe a little less, but that's still a pretty big win. And then there is a buy it now sale of the same card that came in at $3,100. The same day that you have auctions ending with close to 60 bids. So what's interesting, this is kind of another topic we could talk about real quick too, is like when you auction a card that's not the selling marker, like the player's not in the media for anything positive, versus buy it now, you're less likely to sell it, but if it does sell, you're going to sell it for way more than the auction. The auction, you're pretty much guaranteed to sell it. You could even get on this card over 50 bids. It's still not going to sell for even anywhere close to what a buy it now would sell for. Now, again, you might not sell it for the buy it now because you're way overpricing it compared to the auction. The true market value of this PSA 10 right now is $1,800. Somebody sold it, though, for $3,100, same exact card in a buy it now. Because of that comp, now I'm like, there's even more reason to make this play because of that buy it now comp, right? Now, when you sell a card at a selling marker in an auction, I think you can far exceed what you would get in a buy it now. But it's obviously very market dependent. Timing is everything when it comes to auctions. So if you need the money, you can still make the play and auction it off at a bad time. If you don't need the money, I would wait, or I would put it up in a buy it now.
So some big stuff has happened while we've been talking, Paul.
Yeah, I brought some stuff up too. I want to talk about that because I think that fits into this segment, right? So from a buy or sell standpoint, go ahead, Lefty, take it away.
Well, there's two big things that have happened while we've been talking that both of them honestly have shocked me. Sam Darnold has signed a 3-year contract with the Seattle Seahawks after
Geno Smith got traded to the Raiders.
They traded Geno Smith to the Raiders earlier this week. But the more surprising thing that's just happened, which I think will unload another signing here soon, is that the Jets have just signed Justin Fields. So Justin Fields leaves Pittsburgh and goes to the Jets, which I think is probably a better scenario for him. And they've moved on from your favorite guy, Aaron Rodgers.
They moved on from him 2 years too late because he sucks.
But I think your team is about to pick him up.
My team, the Lions?
Oh, sorry. No, I meant the Steelers.
Okay. I do like the Steelers, but they're definitely not. I would not rank them over the Lions for me.
Well, yeah, it all stems from your guy, Kenny Pickett, so.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So, I mean, Brandon Meisner put this in the live chat. Thanks, Brandon. Brandon, Fields to the Jets, sell. I would say sell both these guys.
Same.
I mean, it's a great selling marker for Darnold. It's a great selling marker for Fields. Neither one of these are like top tier NFL quarterbacks ever. So, I mean, if this were like CJ Stroud getting traded or Jaden Daniels getting traded or something, I might not sell.
Which would be crazy.
But that's obviously not happening like that. And that was never going to happen. So, but I think when you're a guy like Sam Darnold or a guy like Justin Fields, this is what you're waiting for as the owner of their cards. You're literally waiting for them to just get traded to a situation where they are the starter or they look like they could be the starter. And respectively, that's who I'm talking about. Like Darnold will be the starter. Fields now looks like he could be a starter. Sell both of them, I would say. If you've already, I just did a search for Sam Darnold auctions while we were talking, and there's many that are ending right now, and I think those sellers are in a phenomenal situation. I don't know that I would be bidding on those cards, but I think those sellers are probably going to make more money now that this transaction happened had they either waited or sold earlier. So that's actually a good sort of full circle moment on what I was talking about with auctions a minute ago. Like, this is a great example of these people who are auctioning off these Darnold cards right now are going to do really well. And if you have Darnold cards or Fields cards, I would list them in auctions. I would start the auctions later tonight, because I think you're going to get a lot of action on them when people hear the news. It might take a couple minutes for some people who actually work during the day to get the news, and then they're going to start bidding later tonight. So I think it's a good thing. Now Bartunik and some other guys in the live chat are talking about, well, what do we do with guys like Jordan Travis? Well, I think the biggest guy to talk about now is not Jordan Travis, but is actually JJ McCarthy. I think JJ McCarthy is the biggest guy to talk about now, because now you don't have Darnold in Minnesota anymore. And now this is a show of faith of, all right, well, Darnold signed as a free agent. It's not like Minnesota traded him, but Minnesota didn't make any effort to retain him at all. So now you got a vote of confidence for JJ McCarthy, who flashed during the preseason against vanilla defenses in one game before he got injured out for the season. He sold well anyway, even though he was out for the season. And now you got a first-round pick coming back from a university I hate, but that's okay. Look, Kevin O'Connell's the man. I'm going to leave my Michigan bias aside. There's a lot of JJ McCarthy cards that are down right now, and I think now you're in a situation where you probably got some JJ McCarthy hype, but maybe the real JJ McCarthy hype comes when he actually takes the reins as the starter for real in Minnesota, and that becomes the selling marker. Lefty, what do you think about JJ McCarthy?
Yeah, I think if I'm trying to figure out a buying opportunity right now, I think JJ McCarthy is a pretty good one if you're willing to hold until August, because there's a lot of hype that's going to be going his way. And I mean, we had Bartunik talk about Jordan Travis and some other guys in here. No way, dude. Like, forget that. Just go straight to JJ McCarthy. It's going to be more expensive for sure, but there's probably some incredible raw to grade plays there. We might have Jake the Guardian on JJ McCarthy now.
Yes.
But what we'll see here, I think, is an opportunity for him to really show what everybody expected of him last year before the unfortunate injury. And yeah, he is from Michigan, but this guy was legit.
Which is a big market, by the way. I just say that because I'm Michigan State, but
I know.
Michigan fan base, and he won the national championship there. That's actually, I think that you could have the Alabama effect, if you will, with JJ McCarthy, right? Because we talk about the Alabama effect sometimes with guys like Tua having a big fan base. I think, you get JJ McCarthy, who wins the national championship at Michigan. That's just as big of a fan base as Alabama. As much as I hate it, it's true. I'm kind of going, man, I wish I could buy some JJ McCarthy cards right now. I can't. I won't.
You just find the cards you would buy, and I'll buy them. How about that?
Well, I think, look, since you brought that up, I think you could look at gradable versions of his 2024 rookie autographs Prism No Huddle. I think you could look at gradable versions of his 2024 Donruss Downtown. So those would be raw plays. I think you could look at gradable versions of his 2024 Prism rookie autographs Pink. Now, the reason I call out those cards is because you still have time for raw to grade plays, and they've all been down a little bit since the launch of Prism. So those are all good. I think those are all good plays. His 2024 rookie autograph Silver is also down a little bit. So gradable versions of those cards. And I do agree. I think we should get Jake the Guardian on some JJ McCarthy plays to add to the formula-based sports card rankings. The Card Society says, I wish I was a Michigan fan. No, absolutely not. I mean, the reality is I could have chosen to be a Michigan fan a long time ago. Like 40 years ago, I could have chosen to be a Michigan fan. Absolutely not. That would be horrible. That would have been a horrible life decision. I definitely am proud to be a Sparty. Would you grade base JJ McCarthy cards that you already own? Cyrus asks. Cyrus, the answer to that question, I think Lefty knows it. I talked about it at the beginning of the show. Send it through the card analyzer and predictor tool, my man. You gotta see if it's gemmable, and you gotta do the analysis around what's the upside of the PSA 10 or the PSA 9 if it's a base card. So, Lefty, great content there. Anything else you want to add for this topic or anything going on in the live chat related to it?
Dude, I'm just bidding on downtowns now. Like, let's do this.
JJ McCarthy raw to grade downtown might be the best play because you've got the upside of a PSA 10. And if it doesn't gem, if it gets a 9, you're probably still going to be okay. If it gets worse than a 9, you could crack it and sell it raw, right, Lefty? Is that kind of what you're thinking?
That's my jam, dude. That is exactly what I was going to do, and that's exactly why I'm bidding on like 4 or 5 of them right now.
Yeah, and if you want to troll us about cracking and selling raw, please go to nooffseason.com/ask and ask us a question there, and we'll break it down for you. So many great tips on this show. How about you give us a tip? Go to tips.sportscardstrategy.com and donate whatever amount of money you can to help us continue to bring you great sports card content regularly. And if you like the content on this show, you can get an extra weekly Friday podcast for premium members only by joining nooffseason.com today. nooffseason.com. All right, Lefty, I'm going to let you go first on this next segment as you take a big gulp from your sports card strategy show, Stanley.
It's my manly. It's my manly. Gosh.
It's your manly. My bad.
Yeah,
what's your from transition. The formula pick? There's a segment here called From the Formula. What that means is we have a formula at nooffseason.com that spits out the best sports card rankings you can find anywhere. Lefty, what's your From the Formula pick?
I have an interesting segment on this today because I do have a formula pick that I like a lot, and it's similar to the Jack Caglione play, but I also have one as I was looking through. Technically, the verbiage that we've always had on this when we build our script out is what would you or would you not recommend? And I don't know how often we haven't recommended cards, but today I saw one and I just smashed the "you cannot buy this card. Please don't." And it fits perfectly, honestly, from the transition of what we just came through, which is announcements of quarterbacks. So this first card is a card that I would say fade till forever, at least for right now. And maybe I'm undersided on some of this stuff, but I think that this is just a horrible potential buy for somebody. And then when you look at the graded to graded formula right now, there is a play on here that is of George Pickens. So the card itself is a 2021 Prism Silver 343 PSA 10. The target cost is $52 with a projected ROI of 15%. It is a George Pickens Silver Prism PSA 10 where he's catching the ball. And I don't like this for a multitude of reasons, but I'm going to bring up a couple of reasons why I don't like this, if I can find my notes in the show notes here. Okay, Mike Tomlin is a run-first coach, okay? So the ROI is not good. He's also a run-first coach. They probably are the most likely candidate for Aaron Rodgers to be throwing the football around, which we've seen how a horrific decision that has been. And now with Justin Fields going to the Jets, we've pretty much confirmed that him or Russell Wilson is not coming back, likely acquiring Aaron Rodgers. Plus, DK mother frickin' Metcalf just moved to the Steelers as well. So now you would say, Lefty, this is a lot of reasons potentially to buy this card. Here's why I'm out on this card. I smell all sorts of locker room issues coming with this team, and I think it gets worse before it gets better. I think you're going to have 2 ball-heavy, dominant wide receivers that are both going to be calling for the ball. I think you also have a run-first coach that's not going to be able to satisfy both of those guys. You also have him potentially being on the outskirts of Steelers Nation, which is weird. We talked about that a couple of months ago. Then you have Aaron Rodgers, who's struggling to even throw the ball these days. He can't walk. Is he going to be able to get it to the running back? Plus, now that this card is potentially like this card was in the graded to graded play, the ROI was at 15%, which there's better plays. And now with the media swirling around DK Metcalf and Aaron Rodgers potentially buying in, I would imagine the target cost for this card is even higher. Therefore, the ROI is going to be even lower. So I'm just like fade again and fade one more time on this specific card. Do I think that Pickens is a good player? Yeah. We've seen him do some things on the football field that you're like, wow, okay, that guy's actually pretty freaking good. But I'm not willing to put any money of investment into any of these Steelers and right now, or maybe even all year long. I just am gonna hard pass this whole franchise for the next couple of months, probably.
I think that's a phenomenal analysis. I'm really glad that you broke all that down. And it's always good to say, even though this card shows an ROI, maybe fade it. So I actually see 4 to 5 legit sell alerts coming out of today's show. Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, Justin Fields, DK Metcalf. You brought up another one. Glad we had that segment because saw DK Metcalf went to the Steelers over the weekend. Didn't talk about that a minute ago. Glad you brought that up. And even George Pickens maybe now. Maybe even George Pickens is a sell, right?
I would get out of both of them right now because if their quarterback is Aaron Rodgers, yikes. No, thank you.
It's bad, guys. It's bad. Like, if Aaron Rodgers does go to the Steelers, I think that's your last opportunity to sell Aaron Rodgers. Like, I think like Aaron Rodgers is bad at football. Like, let's just tell it like it is here. I've been telling it like it is for at least 2 years, over 2 years on this show, and I have been right. He is horrible at football. So if any team is stupid enough to sign him, and like if any team is stupid enough to sign him, let alone start him, it's bad. It's really, really bad. So this would be your last opportunity to get whatever you can, pennies on the dollar, for your Aaron Rodgers cards if he does go to the Steelers. Because the Steelers are a great organization. And I do think if he does go to the Steelers, there would be some hype around that. And I think you would definitely need to sell. Brandon Meisner says, Lefty always brings up things I never think of. I want to grow up to think like that. LOL, such a great take. Yeah, that was a great take. I totally agree. All right, Lefty, what else you got here? You got something else from the formula?
I do have a card that I have personally been buying into, and I really like this, and I'm afraid to actually share it because I think there's going to be more bidders out there that are trying to acquire this same card. I love on our rankings, there is a card from Bobby Witt Jr. in the raw to grade that is the 2020 Topps Chrome Update Sapphire US 100 raw to grade at PSA. The target cost is $137, and the projected ROI is a 82% ROI. Now, that's what I'm talking about. 82% on a guy that is a potential MVP. Yes, sir. Give that to me. Plus, this card is beautiful, Paul. Like, this is a really nice looking card. And I don't know if that always plays into this. I mean, like, we've seen ugly cards be investable, but I think it always is appealing for me when I actually think that this card is a really good looking card. Like, there's another card I'm going to talk about later in the episode. And the reason I chose that card over a different card is because of the eye appeal. That's kind of what I was talking about as well against the Cooper Flagg eye appeal versus the McDonald's All-American versus the Topps now one card where he's flying through the air with Duke, who looks really strong and like a dominant basketball player. I would argue that the McDonald's All-American card makes him look like he's 15, which he probably was, but still, like, no thanks. Now, this Bobby Witt Jr. card may be one of my favorite Bobby Witt Jr. cards out there. His first Bowman looks horrible. It makes it look, he looks fake in the card. And this one makes him look like a guy that you're like, that's a Royals legend right there. And he is a Royals legend, and he's going to be a Royals legend. And Bobby Witt Jr. is a guy that I love to invest in and a guy that I really see a lot of long-term progress for. And if you can get into this card around $137 and get a gemmable look at it, it's got nice clean border, which we talked about earlier on the Wemby card, where it's going to be easy to kind of see if it's well centered before you buy the card. I think that's another really important factor. Like, this card eliminates a lot of the things where you don't have to speculate on centering. It's going to be pretty straightforward before you buy the card if the pictures were taken right. So I like this 2020 Topps Chrome Update Sapphire Bobby Witt Jr. raw to grade play. I'm just sad that I'm bringing this up because I know other people are going to bid me up. So here we are.
Yeah, it's a great play where everybody can win. Everyone in the fam can win. I love Bobby Witt Jr. as well. I mean, for those of you who have listened to the show for at least a year, you know that Bobby Witt Jr. like barely missed as one of the I picked 5 athletes that I would invest in 2025, and he was like number 6. So I'm not buying Bobby Witt Jr. this year. Sadly, I just had to box myself in. But I would definitely recommend this play as well. Stamp of approval. Jaime Corona coming into the live chat says the card predictor tool is fire. Thank you, Jaime. You're the best. But I like the Bobby Witt Jr. One other thing here too, Lefty, on this Bobby Witt Jr. card that I wonder if people realize, I'm sure there's really smart people in the hobby that realize this, but I don't think we've ever mentioned it. When the Sapphire Edition is an automatic color match, is that a thing? Because the Sapphire Edition base is like it's always an if it's a blue team and it's a Sapphire Edition base, it's an automatic color match, right? So does that play into this as well?
I think it does. Like, I mean, the Sapphire Topps Chrome cards have done a lot for me in the past. Like, I'm like, dang, I would rather invest in a Sapphire. It's the Prism Silver for me of other cards. Like, a Sapphire version is where I'm going for if I can afford it, if I can make that price jump. And I think in this specific card, it's a card I would look at. I would be interested in looking at a rookie card version of a Jason Dominguez as well in a Sapphire, because I'm sure, I mean, Yankees aren't exactly blue team color, but Royals aren't exactly blue team color too, because they've got baby blue instead of sapphire blue, but it's close enough that you're like, that's a freaking good looking card right there. So if it makes the design, if it enhances the design and the overall eye appeal of the card, which it does in this,
it doesn't have to be the exact team color, but it would benefit that, right? So I wonder, I'm sure there's a lot of people, like I said, that realize that and get that and make those plays. And you can't really exactly call it a color match like you can from other releases and stuff, but Sapphire Edition certainly is more desirable 9.9 times out of 10 than just a regular release. So props to Topps.
Props to Topps, baby.
Moving to my formula play of the show. I'm going to a card that you and I have each already made some money on, and I feel like the timing could be right with this one again, especially according to the formula, and that is 2023 Upper Deck Young Guns 451 base raw to grade for none other than Connor Bedard. So we could be at the perfect intersection of the card pricing having plateaued, along with still upside in this card because he is playing well and he still is a young phenom in the NHL, potentially in the ilk of an Austin Matthews or a Connor McDavid. Not that they're physically similar in any way, but that they could be the number one name in the game, the face of the league, if you will. So Connor Bedard, overtime game-winning goal a couple of days ago. He's obviously going to be relevant for a long time in the NHL. The formula likes this card from a raw to grade standpoint. It's not one of the easier cards to tell by the naked eye if it's going to gem or not, but it is obviously mass produced, easy to find. You can find deals in auctions. You can even do plays on this. I mean, the formula specifically is saying raw to grade at $194 buy-in point with a 43% ROI. So if you're buying multiples of those, you're likely to get that 43% ROI. Lefty and I have even made money, Lefty in particular, on some Kraken submits. I made money on a Connor Bedard BGS 9.5 crack and submit. And I think Lefty has a story of his own. Maybe he wants to share if he remembers from an SGC grade that he picked up at the National. I was there with him when he made that play. So
you purchased it, actually.
Oh, I purchased it. You purchased it with my money, and then you paid me back.
I said, Dad, can I have this card?
I said, son, you know what? Of course you can.
You said, sure, son. It's a smart buy.
That's what we're here for.
Venmo me later.
Yeah, Venmo me later. And then I think I
didn't actually crack that card because when I got around to cracking that card, it was already $100 higher than where I bought it, and so I just sold it.
Yeah, like it was just a good buy. It was just a good like in-show buy.
Yeah.
But that card, I don't see that card not being desirable at any given point in time. Even though the Young Guns is technically like a base card, it's like, for whatever reason, hockey people can weigh in on this in the comments, but for whatever reason, like the Young Guns, just if it's a top player like that, it just holds value and it has high upside. So that's another reason why I like that play. Are you ready to start grading your cards? CGC Cards is the perfect place to slab your favorite sports cards. From their crystal clear holders to their affordable pricing, CGC Cards is the perfect stop for your grading needs. Go to cgccards.com to start grading today. Thanks to our friends over at CGC Cards. Lefty, it's time for Go Where They Ain't. I want you to go first here too, brother. You're on fire in today's show. Take it away for Go Where They Ain't.
Now, I am particularly excited about this because, as you guys know, I love to advocate for women's sports. And anytime when women's sports come into a intersection with money that can be made, I'm so in. And for this particular player, I think there's a perfect storm potentially brewing for her cards to really rise. Am I talking about Caitlin Clark? No, I am actually talking about Cameron Brink, who was drafted in the same draft class as Caitlin Clark. And Cameron Brink immediately, I believe, tore her ACL and did not get to do anything basically in her rookie season. Now, you're saying, okay, we're gonna buy into a player that is hurt. Yes, specifically, here's why. The Los Angeles Sparks potentially had the second overall draft pick, which they could have actually fought for the number 1 overall draft pick, which could have put Paige Beckers and Cameron Brink together. That was my original hypothesis a couple of months ago on potentially having a window buying into Cameron Brink in March. Well, here we are, and that case did not play out that way. The Dallas Wings will probably get Paige Beckers unless they pass on her, and then they'll just be dumb. So the reason the Los Angeles Sparks,
Dallas basketball teams have been dumb this year already. So
way to like just send some shade their way. So Dallas Mavericks fans getting an unexpected haymaker, just taking strays from Paul Hickey.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Back to you.
The Los Angeles Sparks potentially had the second overall draft pick. They moved that second overall draft pick for none other than Kelsey Plum to come into LA. Now, you probably, if you don't know anything about the WNBA, you're like, who the heck is Kelsey Plum? She actually has a market as well because she not only was at UConn, but has played and won several WNBA championships since her coming to the NBA. Plus WNBA. Plus she's a guard. Cameron Brink is not. She's a center. So they needed somebody else to come alongside her when Paige Beckers was not going to be the move. They said, let's go get one of the most dynamic guards in the sport. And they went and got Kelsey Plum, who is likely one of the top 5 guards in the WNBA. So I think that this vaults Cameron Brink's her market back up into a very high echelon, if you will, of dollar amounts. Now, all of that to be built into a case of you can look at her 2024 Prism rookie variations that pretty much just came out. They are down 90.3% right now in terms of market movers. And when you look at that card and her silver variation of that card, it's also down 82%. I am big on both of these cards right now because I think there's a good raw to grade play here where we could go, and we've been talking about the silver versions of Caitlin Clark's cards in this release, but Cameron Brink has some that, by the way, I think are is a good looking card as well. So Cameron Brink, the 2024 Prism WNBA 143 rookie variation with her with the ball like being turned on her finger. That's the card I'm talking about. The regular variation is down 90.3% in the last 90 days because obviously they skyrocketed right out of the gate, but it's about at $5. I think a raw to grade play on this card would be good. And then a $31 silver variation of this card is also, I think, the best, most appealing option for Cameron Brink.
Love it. I love when Lefty goes into women's sports. It's great. Great opportunities there. Growing WNBA audience. Don't go crazy and buy all WNBA and women's basketball players, but I think Lefty's onto something with that particular Cameron Brink play. Now, Lefty, I may or may not need your help with my.
I have already prepped myself to potentially you needing my help on this. So go for it.
Okay, so I'm a little bit out of my element here. I'm going to go to tennis. And I'm going to go back to a big name in tennis, a guy who's been a big name in tennis for the hobby in the last couple of years, and that's Carlos Alcaraz. His cards started coming out with a Net Pro release back in officially 2022. So those are his rookie cards. And since then, subsequently, Topps Chrome has released some very nice looking Carlos Alcaraz cards. My go where they ain't is to look at the fact that Carlos Alcaraz has already won 4 Grand Slams. He's 21 years old. He's Spanish, by the way, for those of you who don't know. And he started winning the Grand Slams when he was, I believe, 19 or 20. He just won the Indian Wells Opener. And we do have, according to the ATP schedule, we do have our first Grand Slam of the year coming up at Roland Garros from May 17th through June 8th, followed by Wimbledon, June 21st through July 13th. Carlos Alcaraz is listed as the previous winner of both of those Grand Slam events. So, Lefty, when I look at Carlos Alcaraz auctions, there's quite a few. There's quite a few Carlos Alcaraz auctions right now. Now, he has some Leaf autos, which wouldn't be as desirable. He has some graded Net Pro, some graded Topps Chrome. You could still probably make some plays on some raw to grade Topps Chrome and some raw to grade Net Pros. Let me just hand it over to you. I'm just gonna tee this up for you because you're the tennis guy.
Yeah,
Is this a go where they ain't? Is Carlos Alcaraz a go where they ain't? Where people might not be thinking about tennis just yet, but they will be this summer. So if you buy him now, is there a selling marker if he were to perform well and or win one of these upcoming Grand Slams?
Yeah, I think we're at a good time right now because we are in between majors, coming up on the Roland Garros clay court that he did dominate on last year. That's going to be in May, and you're correct about that. But the Miami Open as well is going to be a Masters 1000 tournament. That's like basically the one right underneath that. That starts here in like a week. So Carlos Alcaraz is probably going to perform pretty well at that. And that one is typically well documented in the States because you can watch it in a normal time zone. Like it's not like you don't have to get up at 4 a.m. to watch the Australian Open type thing. So Miami Open will also be a tournament that I think that he will get some eyeballs at, but that's for another week. So at the time of this recording, I think it is a good time because another thing here is the Net Pro cards that we had talked about a couple of years ago are way more financially feasible these days. I think the out of 500 card is definitely worth a look from a raw to grade perspective. A 9 is almost guaranteed on that card because there was actually a print flaw on what they did. They have one pixel right in the middle of the card that didn't actually print on pretty much anybody's, and so for some reason they have deemed that as part of the card grade rather than an actual manufacturing thing, which that's a whole different discussion for another day. But one thing that they did do was the Topps Chrome autos that came out last year have now come back down to earth. So the cards that I would like to go after that you've actually listed here are the 2024 Topps Chrome AIVCAZ with him yelling and flexing in his tennis ball colored shirt. I love that card, and I think it's down 51% of what I'm looking at right now, and some variations are down as much as 62%. So I think that card being down right now is definitely something I would buy into, but I would be extremely careful, and here's why. The Topps Chrome 2024 quality control was pretty terrible. I opened a couple of packs and every single card I had was like massive print lines on it. So I would take extreme caution and extreme, how do you want to say, like patience in looking for an autograph that you think will actually gem. And in this case, I would say maybe a graded to graded play could be the case because of how bad the quality control is with these cards, rather than spinning your wheels trying to get a card that looks like it could gem, unless you're looking at it in person. Might be easier to make a smaller percentage on a graded to graded play, but know you're going to potentially have the opportunity to make the money that you want. And with the majors being later on this year, I think that's when his dominance is going to come out. And I know we don't like to talk about this as much, but this guy is a really good long-term hold as well. So if you don't get the selling markers that you want in the short term, there's going to be like a gazillion in the next 5 years over that you could sell this card. So I would think that it's a safe investment from going to a graded to graded play because of all the opportunities to sell this summer. But I think if you are smart enough and if you're granular enough, I think you could make a pretty good raw to grade play here.
Love it. And this would be the one that I would pick. I would pick the 2024 Topps Chrome image variation autographs in an auction in whatever grade, because I think the raw's down 50%, like you said, and then the other like the PSA 9 and the PSA 10 are both down significantly as well. So there's literally like hundreds of dollars of profit margin built into those cards. So if you could find them in an auction, I think that's your best bet at profit. I think there might be people that list them in a buy it now way too high. So I would avoid those. So let us know if you guys make any Carlos Alcaraz plays. We're here to help you. That's not in the formula. It's not typically something that we talk about in terms of tennis, or I guess Cameron Brink isn't really like a deep cut WNBA, but she kind of is. So like deep cut women's sports, deep cut sports in general, like tennis, in our Go Where They Ain't section, coming in strong today. Love it. If you're a beginner re-entering the hobby or an advanced sports card flipper, our team of experts invites you to a webinar to help you learn how to make money flipping sports cards, live on April 11th. It's a Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern time, but available via recording if you can't make it live. It's only $15, and premium members can use their member points to get it free of charge. Register now at nooffseason.com/webinar. Lefty, it's time for our sports card school lesson of the month that we're going to share for free here for all of the listeners of the Sports Card Strategy Show. But obviously, everybody knows that this is one big tease to show you all the great content at Sports Card School, and we want you to join at nooffseason.com. In today's Sports Card School of lesson of the month, we actually dive into last week's topic on the Sports Card Strategy Show, how to handle income tax filings for your sports cards business. So everybody, check this out. What's going on, everybody? Paul Hickey here with nooffseason.com. This is Sports Card School. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you being a member of the nooffseason.com family and for taking Sports Card School. One issue that we talk a lot about with our premium members at nooffseason.com and listeners of the Sports Card Strategy Show is how to handle income tax filings for sports cards. We get a lot of questions on this, and there's some of it that is definitely dependent on your own individual situation. So how you file taxes. I would say for you filing as an individual or married filing jointly, for those two situations, if you have some W-2 income and some 1099 income, and possibly some other bank statements or statements from investment accounts, that is probably the most common scenario. And then you have some deductions depending on your situation. Basically, what you need to do is take into account your sales on eBay and your sales from the PSA Vault account. And those are probably going to be your two most major tax documents that you're going to run across. If you sell on Whatnot or any other marketplace or live selling platform, they're going to have their own version of this. So if you do sell on any of those other marketplaces outside of eBay and the PSA Vault, you will probably run into a similar situation where you would go in and find similar documentation in those platforms. But for the sake of this lesson, I am going to show you eBay and I'm going to show you the PSA Vault, because those are going to be the two most commonly used platforms from a seller standpoint. So if you go to ebay.com and then click on selling over on the right menu, it'll take you to a page that looks like this for you. And then you'll go to the payments tab and click taxes. And then from there, you might need to authenticate again, which I'm doing. And then once you authenticate again, it's going to take you to a page that lists multiple forms. 1099K is the name of the form. This is a form for any miscellaneous income. And it's the K after the 1099 typically refers to an online payment gateway of sorts. So 1099K from eBay, you would click the tax year and it will download your 1099K in a PDF format. You will need to give that to your tax professional, or if you use an online software, use that information in your online software from eBay. That's going to be a big one. You will definitely need to declare that income. Now, in your PSA Vault, the way that you get to that information from your PSA Vault is you will go to psacard.com and then click on collection. And then when you do that, you'll be taken to a tab that looks like this, app.collectors.com/collection. Then click on the sold tab. So you click on the sold tab and you're going to be taken to this screen, which is app.collectors.com/collection/sold. Now it's going to give you this view payouts, earnings, and tax documents on Stripe. Click view on Stripe right here. It's going to take you to a screen that looks like this. You might have to authenticate into Stripe using your username and password and possibly getting a 2-factor authentication code to your cell phone. And then click on, it has a tab, overview, balance, and tax forms. Click tax forms and you will see a 1099K that you will need to download. It might say confirm your tax information. Once you do that, it'll give you a link to a PDF to download your 1099K from Stripe. And then it's up to you and your tax professional as to how you want to declare all of your income from sports cards and how you want to go through and claim deductions from your sports card business. You can do that if you are filing as an individual or married filing jointly. You can just include your sports cards business as miscellaneous income, whether you're an LLC or not. And just remember that you do probably make some cash at shows. You do probably make some transactions on Venmo and PayPal. So there might be forms within your, if you have a business account on Venmo, there's going to be a 1099K. If you have a business PayPal account, there's going to be a 1099K. Again, if you sell on any of the other marketplaces, there's going to be a 1099K. And you're going to want to look for all of your 1099Ks. For any of them that you can find, you're going to need to declare that income. And again, it's up to you and your tax professional as to what other income you want to declare and what deductions you want to declare. but this is how to handle income tax filings for sports cards. Thanks so much, everybody. Hey, there it is. We talked about it a little bit last week in terms of the stripe situation within the PSA vault. I figured I would put together a comprehensive sports card school lesson and share it with you all on the Sports Card Strategy Show. You get way more than that at Sports Card School at nooffseason.com. That's just a little teaser. Lefty, what do you think about that? And do you have anything else you want to add for today's show before we hit them with the outro?
No, I think it's smart just to view this as a business. When you view your investments as a business, it's going to put you in a different mindset. It's going to put you in a growth mindset. And so like, where can I keep building this? Where can I keep this going forward? How can this not stay stagnant? And that will create wins in the sports card community. So keep doing that.
Everybody, thanks so much. Have a great week of buying and selling sports cards. We hope you're making money. Talk to you soon. Thanks so much for being here with us on the Sports Card Strategy Show. If you enjoyed the content on today's show, there's plenty more waiting for you at nooffseason.com. Just go to nooffseason.com right now and get a free 30-day trial. You get our formula-based sports card rankings, sports card school, inventory tracker, the ability to grade with us, and the premium podcast where we answer an unlimited amount of your questions. Check it out right now at nooffseason.com. For everyone at nooffseason.com, I'm Paul Hickey. Thanks again for being here with us on the Sports Card Strategy Show. We'll see you again soon. Have a great day.